Hey, welcome back to the shop. Thank you for joining me, and thank you to all the new subscribers. If you could do me a favor and leave a comment and tell me why you subscribed if you're new, I would appreciate it. Give me a little insight into what things you like to see. Today, I want to build a table, and it's here, it's done, and I'll show you in just a minute, but this is not just a table, it's a table for a table saw, and it's a little different than you typically see, but it's tailor-made to what I need for my shop. Before we get to that though, I got something else to show you real quick. This great big old box that I built on the wall. It's a box to store ladders. Yeah, not those ladders. They just kind of ended up there. It's for a big long extension ladder. Now, if you haven't been around the shop very much and maybe you're new, the big thing I'm trying to work on lately is optimizing the space I have available to me, getting things off the floor and making it more usable, so when I go back to work on my Mustang and we work on the 4Runner and whatever other projects come up, we have the space, we're not crowded. I'm constantly putting things down in the wrong place because I run out of space. I can't put it back where I wanted because something else has been shifted there. It's just, I collect too much crap, I have too many hobbies, and not enough space. Now this is all recycled materials because everything's on a budget, and I'll show you why everything's on a budget here in just a moment. But this just has to be strong enough to hold up an extension ladder inside. This room is going to be a grinding and welding room. It's going to have a gravel floor. This is going to be framed in. So on the other side of this wall is going to be storage for bikes and some outdoor tools, leaf blower and stuff like that. It's all on that side. I only need the extension ladder outside because it's too big to use in the shop. So I want to be able to get it in and out of the shed or shop or wherever I stored it easily and not have to fight to get it out. So I'll be working from this side, pull ladder out. And it's a long ladder. It's like a 20-footer, so it goes almost the full length of this box, and it's protected from all the stuff happening in the grinding room. So yeah, it works really good. I'm really happy with that one. This is the material that's in there. The pieces are in there red. I think it's the exact same material. It's slippery and it fits over a 2x4 just right. So I've been hanging on to these for like 10 years and I'm like, I'm going to use them for something. I'm going to use them for something. I used them. I only have 2 left. So it's lined with these all the way down. It slides super easy. One-handed, pull it all the way out. You'll forget how heavy it is until you pick it up off the rails. So like I said before, that ladder box was done on a budget, basically zero budget. I had everything I needed. I did not have to buy a single item. This table that we're going to look at is budget. I only bought the nuts and bolts. This material, these long pieces I had sitting around. I had them for the Mustang, but I'm not going to use them. The shorter sticks of material. Listen, I got these from the scrap pile, right? If you go to your local steel supplier and they're not just some big corporation that only delivers by the truckload, you could probably walk in and go to the REM rack and they'll have stuff that's a foot long up to probably 4 feet long. You could probably walk in there and just for a few dollars walk out with all the material you need, especially if it doesn't have to be something really specific. I have 5 different materials in this table and it doesn't really matter. Everything works. It doesn't have to be the exact size I want. By the time it's done, this is going to be overkill anyway. One of the big reasons that so many of these projects are on a budget of 0 is because other projects I have are going to cost money. I have to make sure that I can get them done properly. This is one of them. That heater right there is going to go up in the corner, and that will be the first time I've had proper heat in this shop. And yeah, I had the wood stove, but and it's nice. Wood heat is nice, but you have exposed fire. You can't just shut off if you're gonna spray some paint or something. So there's no pilot light. It's electronic. It's modern. 50,000 BTU. It's gonna work good. Now, besides any initial cost of buying these big pieces, which I am very grateful that these were a gift. Even with this, I have to buy all the connections for all the propane hose. I need to mount everything proper to the wall because this is going to go up in the corner. I'm only going to put it up once. I don't want it to fall down, so we need to mount it properly. We need to plumb it properly for gas, and we need to make sure we just got to do it right. I can't cheap out on any of this. So that's where the budget is going right now for shop stuff, because that's what I need to do. I am eager to get this up. That's probably going to be the next thing we do here in the shop. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So the first thing I really need to do is I got to clean. I always have to clean because I always have a mess, because I've always put something where it doesn't belong, because I don't have space for everything else, which is why we're doing this to begin with. So get everything cleaned up, lay out the material on the floor. Let's cut it all length. I already know what size I want this table. It's about 36 inches wide and 54 inches long. It's going to hold more than just the table saw. And I don't know about this chop saw I have. It's rated at 15 amps. The circuit breaker I have is rated at 20 amps. But every now and then, I will blow the circuit breaker. And there's nothing else plugged into this circuit right now. It's just that saw. So either the label's lying or the breaker's not good. Maybe I should get one of those, what do they call it? The kilowatt meters that you plug in the wall and then plug your appliance into that, and it measures how much power it's actually using. This is another reason I want to get this grinding room cleaned up and finished so I can get this table out. This table I've been using is, it's a good table, and it's big and it's tall, but if I make anything big on it, I'm always fumbling around with space around it because I have other stuff sitting up close to it. So getting this table out into the other room with nothing else around it will be really nice. I don't know if you've spent any time building framework that has to be square and level and flat from corner to corner, but sometimes it's a pain, but it's usually worth it. And it really helps if you cut the ends of your material really square, because when you go to line it up visually and you start setting pieces in place and you butt them together, they're probably really close to square to start with. All right, so I explained these in a YouTube short video as well. These screws and nuts are awesome. They have a serrated flange on each and they lock in place. And when you're bolting stuff together, they grip, all right? Now, I would be careful. If this was something nice and it was painted and I was bolting it together, when I take this apart, it's gonna rip the paint off, all right? But for this table and this shop, it's never going to leave. No one's ever going to care. It might not even get painted properly. These are great. My crusty old recycled wheels. But hey, they were free to me, so why do I care? They roll good still. I probably should have washed them or something before I did this, but they're going to get caked in so much sawdust from the table saw that they will never properly be clean ever again. So now I'm going to get this set down on its wheels, and I need to decide where I'm going to put a shelf, the bottom shelf on this, but I'm going to do that later. The other thing is here's the footprint of the table saw, and that's going to sit about here. I'm debating on whether I want to put a cross member or 2 cross members here. Well, after trying to set up my router to use the panel bit to cut this out in one shot, because the panel bit would follow the framework of the frame, the panel bit does not have a long enough cutting edge to get through this plywood, which is actually about 1 1/8 inches. It's really heavy, strong stuff, but I'm just gonna have to cut it with a circular saw and then clean it up later. One of the drawbacks about being a hobbyist is sometimes you forget how long your tools have been sitting and if they're in good shape or not. This belt and this belt sander has probably been on here too long, and about halfway through sanding this tabletop, it broke and it shredded, and that thing just ate all the little pieces of belt, and it took me about 10 minutes to clean it all out. I even broke the little end of the screw off trying to take the drive wheel off so I could get the pieces out from under it. So I hope I got them all out. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So what I was trying to say while making a big racket while unbolting this saw from its current stand is I built a table for the saw to sit on instead of in, you know, the type with the big long outfeed table built right into it. Because if I have the big long flat table, I will fill it up with junk in no time flat, and I want to avoid that. The other thing is, I don't really need all that big surface area because I usually cut smaller things on this saw, and I'm trying to keep things simple. And if this surface is enough, I'm going to stick with it until I need to do something different. The other part of this is, why do I have this tiny, old, almost antique saw? Well, this was my great uncle's table saw, and he had it for forever. And when he passed away, my dad got this saw. And my dad had it for a while, and he let it sit around, and he said, you know what, I'm not using it. Would you like to have it? And I said, absolutely. So here it is. Whoop, yep, it's loose, okay. Okay, 2 things. I gotta make a hole for the motor to sit in, because it sits down lower than the bottom of the frame, or I need to block the saw up. I also kind of want a hole under the saw. I turn my light on here. I want a hole under here so I can hook my shop vac up to the bottom and suck out most of the dust that's produced. I wonder if this doesn't feel too high to work with. I could probably block this up instead of putting a hole for the motor to sit in. All right, well, that's how the table saw is going to sit. I need to get a shorter belt, because even if I move these up, move the motor up all the way in its slots, it still touches the table. I don't want to cut a hole in the table for this right now, so I'm just going to find a shorter belt, and we'll get that in the near future. Here's that cord. Yeah, look at that. So the cord has to be replaced. That's not a big deal. I might even have one here. Yeah, it doesn't need to be this long, because I got a power strip for this. This is another recycled item. It's got these nice screw down tabs. I can mount it probably on the side, under, somewhere. I don't know. I don't want to get it full of sawdust, but we'll get that installed. Even though this isn't operating right now, it is fulfilling most of my goals for right now, which was to get the table saw and all these woodworking tools on a mobile platform and shove it over here. Because before, come over here, this thing, now this is the original sheet metal table, and it's fine if you're gonna leave it in one place, but it's does not work in a shop like mine, because it's sheet metal, and if you try and move it, it flexes and it chatters across the floor, and I did not want to weld it solid. I was sick of it, and I couldn't use it for anything else. The table is much more useful. So you can see I got all my woodworking tools over there now. They're all off of that little platform on that piece of plywood, because that plywood is going to come down. There's an unused door behind it. We're going to take the door off the hinges. We're going to sheet in the opening in the wall, and that will be solid. And yes, when I fold the saw down, I can even take this off if I want. Oh, it's full. This is below the surface of the table saw, so whatever I cut will miss this. I could even build a little outfeed shelf here if I want. Look at that, almost like I had planned it out.